Life is full of challenges, obstacles, and unexpected difficulties that test our strength, patience, and faith. From the moment we wake up to the moment we sleep, we are faced with choices, responsibilities, and situations that require us to push forward despite the struggles we encounter. Some battles are external, like financial hardships, conflicts in relationships, work pressures, or health problems, while others are internal, such as self-doubt, fear, anxiety, and emotional pain. No one is immune to these battles, and no one walks through life without facing moments where they feel overwhelmed, exhausted, and unsure of how to keep going. Every person, no matter how strong they appear on the outside, carries a weight that others may not see. Some people fight silent battles that they never speak about, hiding their struggles behind a smile or a strong demeanor. Others face battles that are more visible, where their struggles become evident through their actions, words, or circumstances. The truth is, life does not come without hardship, and every stage of life brings new challenges to overcome. Children face the pressure of learning and growing. Teenagers struggle with identity and self-worth. Adults deal with responsibilities and the weight of expectations, and the elderly battle loneliness and the realities of aging. There is no phase of life where battles cease to exist. Some struggles come and go, while others seem to stay longer than we expect. Sometimes we find ourselves stuck in a season of difficulty, wondering if things will ever get better. We may feel like we are fighting the same battles over and over, facing disappointments, setbacks, and heartbreaks that make us question if we have the strength to continue. It is in these moments that life feels like a never-ending battlefield, where victories are short-lived and new challenges arise just when we think we can finally rest. There are days when the fight feels too much to handle, when exhaustion takes over and giving up seems like the easiest option. The weight of our struggles can feel unbearable, and the idea of overcoming them may seem impossible. But battles are not just about suffering, they are also about growth. Every challenge we face shapes us, strengthens us, and teaches us lessons we would never learn otherwise. Through struggles, we develop resilience, patience, and a deeper understanding of ourselves and others. The battles we face today may feel overwhelming, but they are also preparing us for greater things ahead. Life's battles also remind us that we are not in control of everything. No matter how much we plan, prepare, or try to control outcomes, there are always situations that are beyond our ability to change. This realization can either make us feel powerless or lead us to trust in a higher power. When we recognize that life is a battlefield, we also understand that we cannot win every fight on our own. We need strength beyond our own, wisdom beyond our understanding, and guidance that comes from something greater than ourselves. The struggles we go through can serve as a reminder that we are not alone. Even when it feels like no one understands our pain, there is always someone who has faced a similar battle and come out stronger. The hardships we endure can either break us or make us into warriors who are better prepared for future challenges. Life's battles test our faith, endurance, and ability to keep moving forward despite the odds. They teach us that no matter how difficult the journey gets, there is always a way through, and every battle faced is an opportunity to rise above what tries to bring us down. No one is meant to go through life alone, yet so often people carry their burdens in silence, believing they have to face their struggles without help. The weight of problems, fears, and uncertainties can feel overwhelming. especially when there is a belief that no one else can truly understand what one is going through. It is easy to fall into the mindset that every battle must be fought alone, that asking for help is a sign of weakness, or that no one else cares enough to stand beside us in our struggles. However, the truth is that we are not meant to carry everything on our own. There are times when people isolate themselves in the middle of their battles, thinking that no one else will understand their pain, or that admitting their struggles will make them seem weak. Some feel that sharing their burdens will make them a burden to others, so they choose to keep everything bottled up inside. Others have experienced disappointment in the past where they reached out for help and felt ignored, misunderstood, or abandoned. These experiences can make it difficult to trust again, leading many to suffer in silence. But no matter how much it may feel like we are alone in our struggles, the reality is that help is always available, and we do not have to fight our battles without support. Sometimes support comes in the form of friends and family, people who are willing to listen, encourage, and stand by our side during tough times. There is great strength in allowing ourselves to lean on others, to share our worries, and to accept the love and comfort that those around us can provide. No one is meant to be completely self-sufficient, and everyone needs someone to walk alongside them at different points in life. Whether it is a simple conversation, a word of encouragement, or just knowing that someone cares, the presence of others in our lives can make all the difference in the midst of a difficult battle. There are also times when human support is not enough, and the battles we face feel too big for anyone around us to solve. In those moments, it is important to remember that we are never truly alone, even when it feels like no one understands. There is a greater power that watches over us, a source of strength that goes beyond human limitation. When life feels impossible, when solutions seem out of reach, and when exhaustion sets in, turning to God for help can bring a peace that nothing else can provide. Instead of trying to carry every burden alone, we can surrender our struggles and trust that we do not have to bear the weight of life's battles by ourselves. Faith reminds us that we are not fighting on our own, that even in the darkest moments, there is a presence that walks with us, guides us, and strengthens us when we feel weak. The battles we face may be too much for us to handle alone, but they are never too big for God. There is a sense of relief in knowing that we do not have to have all the answers, that we do not have to be strong all the time, and that we can place our trust in someone greater who is fighting for us in ways we may not even see. Letting go of the belief that we must handle everything by ourselves is not easy, especially in a world that often glorifies independence and self-reliance. But true strength is found not in carrying burdens alone, but in knowing when to seek help, when to trust, and when to let go of the idea that every battle must be won by our own efforts. Life is not meant to be a lonely struggle, and every step of the journey becomes lighter when we accept the support, love, and guidance that is available to us. There are moments in life when the battles we face seem impossible to overcome, when no matter how hard we try, the situation remains unchanged and the struggle feels never ending. It is during these times that frustration, fear, and exhaustion begin to take over, making it difficult to see a way forward. No one likes to feel powerless, yet there are situations where human strength wisdom and effort are simply not enough. No matter how much we plan, prepare, or fight, some battles are beyond our control, reminding us that we need help greater than what we can provide for ourselves. The truth is, not every battle is ours to fight alone. There are struggles that only God can handle, situations where His power, wisdom, and timing are the only answers. When facing impossible circumstances, it is easy to wonder if God is truly aware of what we are going through, if He sees the pain, the confusion, and the exhaustion that come with fighting battles that seem endless. But time and time again, we are reminded that God does not leave His people to fight on their own. He steps in, He intervenes, and He fights for those who trust in Him. One of the greatest examples of this is found in the story of the Israelites as they stood trapped between the Red Sea and the Egyptian army. From a human perspective, their situation was hopeless. There was no way forward, no way back, and no visible solution. Fear took hold of them as they saw no way out, but in that moment, God spoke through Moses, saying, "The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." Exodus 14:14. What happened next was something that no human effort could have accomplished. God parted the sea, making a way where there was none, proving that He fights for His people in ways beyond human understanding. Just like He fought for them, He fights for us. The battles we face may not involve standing before a sea that needs to be parted, but they can feel just as overwhelming. There are times when we feel trapped, when every possible solution has failed, and when fear convinces us that there is no way out. But God's power has not changed. He still moves, He still makes a way, and He still fights on behalf of those who put their trust in Him. Trusting God to fight for us does not mean doing nothing. It means surrendering the battle to Him and believing that His way is greater than ours. It means releasing the need to control everything and allowing Him to work in His own time and in His own way. There will be moments when we do not understand why the battle is taking so long or why the situation seems to be getting worse instead of better. But God sees what we cannot see, and He knows what we do not know. His timing is perfect, His plans are greater, and when He fights for us, the victory is certain. There is peace in knowing that we do not have to carry every burden on our own, that the weight of life's struggles is not meant to rest entirely on our shoulders. When we shift our focus from trying to fight in our own strength to trusting in God's power, we find the courage to keep moving forward even when the road ahead is unclear. The battles we face may feel impossible, but with God fighting for us, there is always hope, always a way, and always a victory that is greater than anything we could achieve on our own. There are moments in life when everything seems to come to a standstill, when no matter how much effort is put in, nothing seems to change. It is in these moments that frustration sets in. Doubts grow stronger, and the mind begins to question whether a solution will ever appear. There are times when doors remain closed despite endless knocking, when every attempt to move forward is met with resistance, and when all paths seem blocked with no clear way out. In these times, it is easy to believe that there is no solution, that the situation is permanent, and that no matter how hard one tries, there is simply no way forward. Yet history has shown time and time again that God specializes in making a way when there is none. When human limitations are reached, when strength is exhausted, and when logic says there is no hope, that is when God moves in ways beyond understanding. The story of the Israelites at the Red Sea is a perfect example of this truth. Trapped between the waters and Pharaoh's army, they saw no escape. Their minds could not comprehend a solution because there was no human way out. Yet what seemed impossible to them was an opportunity for God to show His power. In that moment, the sea parted, creating a path no one could have imagined, proving that no situation is too difficult for Him. Just like He made a way for them, He still makes a way today. No matter how difficult the circumstances, no matter how impossible things may seem, God has the power to create solutions that no human could ever come up with. When all doors seem closed, He opens one. When the road ahead seems blocked, He clears the path. When the situation appears hopeless, He steps in and turns things around in ways that cannot be explained. The problem is that in the middle of the struggle, it is hard to see this truth. The mind becomes focused on what is visible, the obstacles, the failures, the unanswered prayers. It becomes easy to believe that because there is no immediate solution in sight, there will never be one. But just because a way is not visible does not mean it does not exist. God's timing is not the same as human timing, and often the way is revealed only when the time is right. There are times when the delay is not a denial, but rather a preparation for something greater. Sometimes the waiting period is necessary to build faith, to teach patience, or to prepare for what is ahead. When things do not go according to plan, when solutions take longer than expected, it is natural to feel discouraged. But it is important to remember that just because things are not happening immediately does not mean they will not happen at all. Trusting that God will make a way requires faith, especially when everything around seems to suggest otherwise. It means believing even when there is no evidence, holding on to hope when everything says to give up, and trusting that no matter how impossible the situation appears, God is still in control. There are countless stories of people who found themselves in impossible situations, only to later realize that what seemed like a dead end was just a setup for something greater. Sometimes the way God provides is not what was expected, and sometimes it comes in ways that were never even considered. The key is to keep trusting, to keep believing, and to remember that God has never failed before, and He will not start now. When the mind says there is no way, faith says God will make one. When doubt says it is over, faith says this is just the beginning. The way may not be clear right now, but just as He has done countless times before, He will make a way once again. Trusting God is one of the most powerful decisions a person can make, but it is often misunderstood. Some believe that placing faith in God means sitting back and waiting for everything to fall into place without any effort. Others assume that trust requires no action at all, that simply believing is enough without making any moves toward change. However, true trust in God is not about doing nothing. It is about surrendering control while still doing what is within one's power. It is about acting in faith, taking steps forward, and believing that God will guide the journey, open the right doors, and provide strength for what lies ahead. There is a difference between surrendering and being passive. Surrendering to God means letting go of anxiety, fear, and the need to control everything. But it does not mean refusing to take action when action is needed. It means making choices based on faith rather than fear, moving forward despite uncertainty, and doing what is possible while trusting God to handle what is not. The Bible is filled with examples of people who trusted God completely, yet they did not sit back and wait for miracles to happen without taking action. David trusted that God would give him victory over Goliath, but he still picked up his sling and stepped onto the battlefield. Noah trusted that God would save him and his family from the flood, but he still built the ark. The Israelites trusted that God would bring them into the promised land, but they still had to march, fight battles, and take possession of what was promised. Trusting God does not mean ignoring responsibility or refusing to take steps toward a goal. It means working hard, making wise decisions, and doing what is right, all while believing that the outcome is in His hands. There are moments when human effort is required, when doors will not open unless an attempt is made to walk through them, and when opportunities will not come unless a person is willing to step out in faith. Trust is not a reason to remain stuck in one place, waiting for a sign to appear. It is the willingness to keep moving forward, even when the path is unclear, believing that God will direct each step. At the same time, trust requires patience. There are moments when action is necessary, but there are also moments when waiting is just as important. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is to remain still when everything inside wants to rush ahead. It takes faith to move, but it also takes faith to wait. When God says, "Not yet," trusting God means knowing the difference between the two, when to act and when to step back and let Him work. It means listening for His guidance, following His lead, and understanding that His timing is always perfect, even when it does not align with personal expectations. Fear often tries to convince people that they must handle everything on their own, that if they do not take control, nothing will happen. But trust is the opposite of fear. It is the decision to walk forward in faith rather than be paralyzed by worry. It is choosing to believe that God is working even when circumstances seem unchanged. It is holding on to hope when the situation looks hopeless and refusing to give up, knowing that He is in control. Trusting God does not mean doing nothing. It means doing what is possible and leaving the impossible in His hands. It means giving full effort without carrying the full burden, knowing that success, victory, and breakthrough do not depend on human strength alone. Faith is active, not passive. It moves forward, makes decisions, and works hard while resting in the assurance that God is leading the way, providing the answers, and making a way even when the path is not yet visible. Victory is something that every person desires, whether in personal struggles, difficult situations, or battles that seem too great to overcome. There is an innate longing to come out on the other side of hardship stronger, to see obstacles removed, and to witness challenges being conquered. However, life often presents situations where victory appears uncertain, where despite every effort, success feels impossible. People try to fight in their own strength, relying on their abilities, knowledge, and strategies, only to find themselves exhausted, frustrated, and without the results they hope for. It is in these moments that the greatest truth must be remembered. When God fights the battle, victory is not just possible, it is guaranteed. God has never lost a battle, and He never will. His power is unmatched. His wisdom is beyond human understanding, and His ways are higher than anything that can be comprehended. Throughout history, there have been countless examples of God stepping in and turning situations around. in ways that no human effort could accomplish. When the Israelites faced impossible odds, when armies much greater than them stood against them, when defeat seemed certain, God fought on their behalf, and victory was always the result. Time and time again, he has shown that no enemy, no force, no difficulty is too great for him to overcome. The guarantee of victory does not mean there will be no struggle. Battles may still be intense, challenges may still arise, and difficulties may still test faith, but the outcome is already determined. God does not promise a life without hardships, but he does promise that for those who trust in him, the battle is already won. This is why the Bible reminds people to stand firm, to not be afraid, and to trust that God is working even when things do not seem to be going in their favor. The fight may not always be easy, but when God is in control, the final victory is never in question. Victory does not always come in the way that is expected. Sometimes people believe that winning means everything working out exactly as they planned, but God's ways are often different. What may seem like a loss in the moment could actually be the setup for something far greater. Joseph was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, and thrown into prison, but in the end he was elevated to a position of power that saved many lives. Daniel was thrown into a den of lions, yet he walked out unharmed, showing the power of God in a way that no human effort could have done. The battles faced may be difficult, but when God is in control, the end result is always for good. Trusting in God's victory means letting go of fear. Fear tries to convince people that they are on their own, that failure is inevitable, and that the struggle is too great to overcome. But faith reminds them that God is greater than any enemy, stronger than any obstacle, and more powerful than any situation that may arise. Even when circumstances seem to say otherwise, even when things appear to be falling apart, faith declares that victory is already won.